Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life that arrive without warning, moments that shatter everything you thought you knew about yourself. For me, pain didn't knock, it barged in. It turned my world upside down and asked me to rebuild it. With pieces I didn't recognize anymore. Pain can feel like a sudden storm, uninvited, disruptive, and terrifying. It arrives in our lives often without warning, reshaping everything we thought we understood about who we are and where we're going. In those moments, it's easy to believe that pain is a period, the end of the sentence, the closing of a chapter, or worse, the conclusion of the entire story. But the truth is that pain is not the end. It is often the beginning of a journey we never expected to take, but one that can lead us to our greatest transformation. When you are in pain, especially the kind that reaches into the deepest corners of your soul, it feels like life has pressed pause. Everything slows down. The world continues to move, but you feel stuck, suspended in a space between what was and what will never be again. And yet, in that stillness, where silence becomes deafening and loneliness feels absolute, something sacred happens. You begin to see yourself not as you were, but as you could be. The brokenness reveals parts of you that comfort and success never could. It strips away illusion. It brings to light your rawest truth. There is power in that rawness. It's in the way you wake up despite the weight of despair. It's in how you continue to breathe even when your heart feels shattered. Pain forces us to confront the illusion of control. It reminds us that life doesn't follow our plans, and strangely, in losing control, we are given a gift, the opportunity to rebuild, not in the same shape or with the same pieces, but with a new understanding of what truly matters. Pain opens a door that comfort often keeps closed. It makes us ask questions we've ignored for too long. Who am I without my achievements? Who am I when everything familiar has fallen away? What do I believe in now? And as we wrestle with these questions, a quiet clarity begins to form. We realize that our worth isn't defined by what's been taken from us, but by what we choose to create out of what remains. Though it never feels like it in the moment, pain can be the most honest teacher we will ever have. It teaches us about resilience, empathy, patience, and perspective. And perhaps most importantly, it introduces us to the depth of our own inner strength. That strength was always there, it just took the breaking to uncover it. So while pain may not come bearing welcome arms, it comes bearing truth, and within that truth lies the beginning of purpose. Pain is not the period at the end of your sentence. It is the comma, the pause, the moment you take a breath before rising again, this time not as who you were, but as who you are meant to become. There is a powerful transformation that begins not with the body, not even with the circumstances around us, but within the quiet space of the mind. At first, pain provokes a question that echoes through the soul. Why me? It's a question born out of confusion, anger, and sorrow. It's a cry for meaning when nothing makes sense anymore. When life breaks apart suddenly and without reason, it's natural to seek answers in that way, to search for someone or something to blame, or to simply wallow in the injustice of it all. But staying in that question too long can keep us rooted in suffering, unable to move forward. The moment things begin to change is the moment that question shifts. It doesn't happen all at once. It doesn't come with a loud revelation or a lightning strike. It happens in a whisper, in the quiet space between despair and surrender. Why me slowly transforms into what now? And in that shift everything changes, not because the pain disappears, but because our relationship to it does. Asking what now is not an act of resignation. It is an act of courage. It means we are ready to stop searching for reasons and start seeking direction. It means we are beginning to look forward rather than remain trapped in the ruins of what once was. This simple change in perspective is what begins to separate survival from growth. Why me looks backward, what now? Looks forward, and forward is where healing begins. This shift doesn't mean you forget what you've lost or ignore what hurts. It means you choose to find meaning in the aftermath. You begin to ask different kinds of questions. What can I learn from this? What strength can I find in this silence? How can I use this pain to help others? These are the questions that open doors within us. These are the questions that help us rebuild. Not the same version of the life we had before, but a wiser, deeper, more meaningful one. It's important to understand that this change in mindset is a daily choice. There will be days when why me creeps back in, and that's okay. It's part of being human, but the more we return to what now, the stronger we become. It's in that question that we find hope, not the naive kind that ignores reality, but the resilient kind that acknowledges the pain and still chooses to move forward. So many people wait for life to change before they believe they can feel better. But often life doesn't change until we do. The circumstances might still be difficult, but the way we see them begins to shift. And once the mind begins to move forward, the rest of us can begin to follow. That is where the journey from pain to purpose truly begins, not in the changing of our world, but in the changing of our perspective. Discipline is often misunderstood. Many associate it with harsh rules or rigid routines, something imposed rather than chosen. But when you are walking through pain, discipline takes on a very different meaning. It becomes something tender, something personal, not about controlling life, but about anchoring yourself when life feels uncontrollable. It becomes the quiet power that keeps you moving when everything inside you wants to stop. In the depths of suffering, motivation fades, inspiration becomes distant. On those days, discipline becomes the lifeline. It's the gentle voice that says, just one step today, just one act of care. It's not loud or dramatic. It's not about grand gestures or instant results. It's the small decision to try to make the bed, to drink water, to stretch your body, to speak kindly to yourself. These simple acts, repeated consistently, begin to create structure in the chaos. They form a rhythm, however faint, in a time when everything feels offbeat. The transformation doesn't come overnight. Discipline works in layers. It's in choosing to show up for yourself in small, unglamorous ways. It's deciding to keep going, even when progress is invisible. Over time, these actions compound. What starts as survival becomes strength. What begins as routine becomes resilience. In the beginning, you don't feel like doing anything. But discipline isn't about feelings, it's about choosing what you need over what you want in the moment. And slowly, the choice to keep going becomes part of who you are. It's important to understand that discipline doesn't mean suppressing your pain or pretending to be okay. It's the opposite. It's making space for the pain, but not letting it decide everything. It's honoring your emotions while still taking responsibility for how you respond. It's crying and still rising. It's grieving and still growing. Discipline allows both things to exist, sorrow and strength, rest and effort, breaking and building. Some days will feel like a step forward. Others will feel like a step back. That's okay. Discipline doesn't demand perfection. It asks only for consistency, for showing up again and again, even if it's just with a little more hope than yesterday. Even if all you can do is breathe and not give up, that too is discipline. Eventually, these daily acts of intention form a new foundation. They rebuild confidence. They teach you that you are capable not just of surviving, but of creating a new way to live. Not because life became easier, but because you became stronger, and that strength didn't come from a sudden breakthrough. It came from the quiet, determined discipline of choosing yourself again and again, no matter how heavy the day felt. In the end, it's not one grand moment that changes everything. It's the collection of 100 small decisions made in the dark, out of sight, with no guarantee of reward, only the belief that healing is possible. That belief, backed by discipline, is what creates transformation. When life falls apart, the instinct is often to wear a mask to hide the pain. to pretend we are fine, to present strength even when we feel broken inside. We are taught to believe that vulnerability is weakness, that showing emotion is a sign of defeat. But over time, life reveals a very different truth. Our true strength is not found in how well we hide our pain, but in how courageously we choose to face it. There is immense power in allowing yourself to be real, to admit, even silently, that you are not okay, that you are hurting, that some days feel heavy beyond words. This act of honesty, of acknowledging your brokenness, is not giving up. It is the first step toward healing. When we are vulnerable, we begin to open up space for growth. We stop fighting our pain and start learning from it. It's in those moments of vulnerability that we begin to connect with ourselves on a deeper level. We start to understand the layers of our emotions, the depth of our strength, and the resilience that lives quietly beneath the surface. We realize that strength isn't about being unaffected, it's about being honest in the face of adversity. It's about standing in the storm with open arms saying, "This hurts, but I'm still here." Allowing yourself to be vulnerable also creates space for others to connect with you. Pain often isolates, but vulnerability bridges that gap. It invites compassion, understanding, and sometimes even healing, not just for you, but for those around you. When someone sees your honesty, your willingness to speak about your struggles, it gives them permission to be honest too. And in that shared truth, healing multiplies. Strength and vulnerability are not opposites, they are partners. One makes the other possible. Without vulnerability, strength becomes rigid, disconnected. Without strength, vulnerability can feel overwhelming, but together they create balance. They allow you to fall apart when needed, and also to gather yourself again, piece by piece, with purpose. Some of the most powerful moments in life are not the ones where you conquer mountains, but the ones where you sit quietly in your pain, breathe deeply, and choose not to give up. The moments when you reach out for help. The moments when you cry openly, the moments when you admit you're struggling but keep going anyway. These are not signs of weakness. These are the moments that define real courage. Being vulnerable does not mean you are broken beyond repair. It means you are open to healing, open to growth, open to discovering a version of yourself that is deeper, wiser, and more grounded in truth. Strength born from vulnerability is not loud. It doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's just a quiet whisper that says, "I will keep moving forward," even when everything in you wants to stop, and that is a strength no one can take from you. Purpose is not something we stumble upon by chance. It's not a destination marked clearly on the map of life. Instead, it is something we shape and build slowly, intentionally, through our persistence in the face of difficulty. Often, we wait for clarity to arrive before taking action. We tell ourselves that once we have all the answers, once the pain fades, once life makes sense again, then we will move forward. But that day rarely comes. The truth is, purpose is not found in the absence of struggle. It is discovered in the very heart of it. Pain challenges everything we think we know about ourselves. It strips away certainty, comfort, and control. But in that raw space, a quiet opportunity emerges, the chance to choose how we respond and how we keep going despite it all. Purpose does not arrive like lightning. It reveals itself slowly through the choices we make each day, in the moments when no one is watching, in the times we decide to show up, even when it hurts. Every small step matters. Every quiet act of persistence is a brick laid in the foundation of something greater. It's easy to romanticize the idea of purpose, to believe it must be something grand or extraordinary. But sometimes purpose is as simple as getting up when it's easier to stay down. It's in the decision to turn pain into compassion, struggle into wisdom, and setbacks into fuel. These moments of persistence, though they may seem insignificant, begin to shape a new path. They give meaning to the suffering. Not because the suffering was deserved or necessary, but because something valuable is born from how we choose to rise through it. The journey to purpose is not linear. There are days of clarity and days of confusion. There are moments when we feel strong and others when we doubt everything. But purpose is not about being perfect. It's about being present, about continuing to walk forward, even with trembling steps. It's about trusting that what you're building, piece by piece, is meaningful even if you can't see the full picture yet. Sometimes the most purposeful lives are not lived by those who had it easy, but by those who persisted through pain and used their experience to bring light to others. They didn't wait to feel ready. They acted with what they had, where they were, and kept moving forward. Their purpose wasn't something they found, it was something they created through their persistence. In the end, persistence becomes the tool that transforms pain into progress. It teaches us that we are not powerless, that even in the darkest moments we have a choice. And with each choice to continue, to grow, to give, and to live with intention, we carve a path, one that leads not just to healing, but to a deeper, lasting sense of purpose. There is a tendency to hide the parts of ourselves that have been wounded. We are taught, often silently, that scars are something to be ashamed of, something to cover up or forget. But scars are not proof of failure. They are symbols of survival. They are the marks that show we have lived through something and made it to the other side. They tell a story not of weakness, but of resilience, of strength, and of the human capacity to endure and evolve. Every person carries invisible wounds, moments of heartbreak, betrayal, loss, or despair. And yet, so many feel the need to walk through life pretending to be untouched, to be flawless. But perfection has never inspired anyone. It is in our vulnerability, in our truth, that we find the ability to connect, to uplift, and to empower. Your story, with all its broken chapters and painful pages, holds value, not in spite of the pain, but because of it. When you share your journey, the real one, not the polished version, you create space for others to do the same. You remind them that they are not alone in their struggles, that it's okay to fall, and it's even more beautiful to rise again. Scars are not signs that something went wrong. They are proof that healing happened. They are reminders that pain did not have the final word. Owning your story is a courageous act. It means standing tall, not because your path has been easy, but because you chose not to let the hard parts define you. It's about saying, this is what I've been through, this is how it changed me, and this is what I've learned. That honesty has the power to light the way for others. It transforms pain into purpose and silence into strength. Often, the parts of ourselves we want to hide the most are the very things that can inspire someone else to keep going. Your scars can be a roadmap for someone else who is lost in their darkness. They can be the gentle proof that healing is possible, even when it feels far away. You may not realize it, but simply by surviving and choosing to share your truth, you can be the reason someone else believes they can do the same. There is no shame in your wounds, no shame in your journey. Every moment you've endured the silent nights, the tears no one saw, the decisions you made to keep going, all of it matters. All of it has shaped you into who you are now. And who you are now is someone with a story that holds meaning. So embrace your scars, speak your truth. Let your life be a testament not only to what hurt you, but to how you rose, because in doing so, you give others permission to rise as well. And that is how pain becomes power, when we no longer hide our story, but allow it to be the light someone else needs.